welcome to Across the Pond MMA. With your hosts, Andre Jacobs and Matt Simpson.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a long time. Missed you as well. But welcome to Fight Fans Radio. You're listening to Across the Pond MMA. This is Andre Jacobs speaking to you from my lovely new flat, my lovely new room in Jesmond, Newcastle. And as per usual, I'm with the fantastic, the beautiful, the handsome Matt Simpson. Matt, how are you doing, sir?
Doing great, man. Had a little bit of a rough night last night. Had my dad's birthday party. It was at a winery, so it started the night drinking early.
Yeah.
Continued with some Crown Reserve, and it was a rough going for a while, but came out on top, man. Got up this morning, feel pretty good.
Yes, indeed. Well, that's always a fantastic thing, especially when you get drunk. You want to feel good afterwards.
Especially if it's a wine drunk, man. Usually you drink a little bit too much wine the next day. It just never, you don't feel right.
I'm a real man. I don't drink wine. You know what
I don't
I'm
even really want to hear that, dude.
I'm a real man. I don't drink wine. That's all I've got to say.
Yeah, well, I've never been told to put my seat back on my bicycle, so that's all I'm gonna say.
Easy. None of that talk, sir. None of that talk. Well, besides from, Matt drinking like a woman, there was some MMA this weekend, and last weekend, and this week. There's so much MMA. It's all-encompassing, this sport. So please, tell us, what were your thoughts on UFC and Fox 6? We're actually planning on doing a show this week, but technical difficulties, natural disasters in Indiana, it was too difficult, so we're doing everything today. So we're starting all the way back from a show that we'd probably done on Monday with some coverage on UFC and Fox 6. Thoughts, please?
I thought it was a great card, man. It was probably, to date, I think it was the best free card the UFC's put on. Mm-hmm. Really impressed with a few of the fighters that were on the card. They really came through. And overall, it was just, like I said, it was a great card. It was a really fun card to watch from, I wouldn't say from beginning to end, because I was very upset that Simeon Thorson disappointed me and just got totally destroyed by David Mitchell. But, yeah. But it was a fun card to watch.
It's interesting. I read a tweet from Ian Dean, who's the Cage Warriors matchmaker. I think he might have had Simeon on one of his shows, but he said, I'm paraphrasing right now, but he said, it's funny how in Europe a dude can be fantastic, but once they get to the big show, it kind of shows how little their skills were, and small their skills were. It's an interesting thing. It's not very often that you get a guy come on from the regional seed and just crush people to shreds. And
No,
I think a lot of people thought Simeon Thorson might have done that. I don't think he will.
Well, I'd say definitely not at this point. I mean, Seth Brzezinski, I think that affected him somewhat because when he fought Seth, he was very aggressive, ended up getting knocked out, and he just seemed to, he seemed to have lost that aggression when he fought David Mitchell, and Mitchell was just able to tool him. But, I guess time will tell. I mean, he's 28, so it's not like he's young in this sport. He's still, he's still got time to make some adjustments, and we'll have to see what happens with him.
Fair enough. Rightio. What were your thoughts on Anthony Pettis?
Wow. Man, I had Cerrone winning that fight, and so I was really blown away by Anthony Pettis. And Anthony Pettis has got is a skilled fighter. Going into this fight, I knew it was going to be a very close fight. I was back and forth on who I was going to pick. And I mean, Pettis, I mean, it didn't even look like Cerrone belonged in that fight. And that says a whole lot because, I mean, Donald Cerrone is not a walk in the park, but he definitely looked that way against Anthony Pettis.
No, it's true. It sort of reminds me, like, there are times when Don Cerrone looks just fantastic, but there are times when it's almost like, you know, he fights someone just a little bit better than him and they make him look absolutely terrible. We saw it with the Nate Diaz fight. We saw it with the Anthony Pettis fight. We've even seen it with the Benson Henderson fight. So, is Don Cerrone destined to be a gatekeeper?
I don't really think you can put him as a gatekeeper because I think he can still beat top 5 guys. I just think that he's just a step down, a step below, you know, the guys you just mentioned. And I think those are the 3 best guys at lightweight at any given moment. So Gray Maynard, we'll see what Gray looks like. He needs to get back in the cage and give us another good performance. But I mean, I think that Cerrone's just right. I mean, I think he's just right there on the cusp. You know, he's just. But I don't think the guy's ever going to be a champion. I mean, I really thought that was the path he was on, but I just don't think he's got it in him.
Yeah, no, I agree. So I agree. What were your thoughts on Rampage's last fight?
It's what we've grown to expect with Rampage. I think that, I mean, a big part, you know, people talk about his wrestling, that he doesn't use it. I think a big part of it is his knees. I think his knees are so shot that it's really hard for him to get that power and get that push and do it with any consistency. I mean, the guy's a gamer. I mean, that last round, he looked like he was ready. I mean, he could just quit, but he didn't. And I mean, he was still throwing hard punches, trying to clip Glover Teixeira. But you know, I didn't think he was going to get it done. He didn't get it done. I'd say that I think Quentin should probably just retire, and I really don't want to see him back I definitely don't want to see him back in the UFC. Probably won't be the case because he can still pull some numbers if you get him in there with the right guy. But overall, man, and the thing that really was disappointing to me at the end was that the UFC didn't give him an interview. I thought that was classless, and I was really disappointed with that. I mean, even though Quentin's been a nutcase at times and has said his things, he still made the UFC a lot of money. So I just thought I was really disappointed in the fact that they didn't give him a going away interview.
Okay, cool. Dodson fought. What were your thoughts on John Dodson versus Demetrius Johnson for the flyweight title?
Dodson, yeah, it was, and Dodson was a lot more competitive than I thought he would be. I really thought that Johnson. I thought Johnson would, for the most part, dominate from beginning to end. I mean, I thought it would go to a decision, but Dodson, man, he tattooed Johnson a couple times and put him on his butt. So it was just a matter of Dodson just not having the gas tank to keep on going. I mean, once Johnson began to wear on him, Dodson kind of faded there in the later rounds. So I think that was the difference. But it was a great fight, man. It's really there's still so many people out there that hate watching these flyweights fight. And after that fight, and then we had Ian McCall and Joseph Benavidez last night. I mean, those I don't get it, man. I enjoy watching them. What about you?
I enjoyed it as well, to be honest. I thought it was a fantastic fight, back and forth. But the thing that really, how do I put this, really cemented it for me was the fact that Demetrius Johnson came back from adversity.
No, definitely. He was hurt a couple times.
Yeah, he got cracked in the first 2 rounds, and you really see the heart of a champion when he comes back from adversity and he wins. A la Anderson Silva versus Chael Sonnen, you know what I mean? Frankie Edgar versus Gray Maynard 3? Yeah, because I don't think he won the second one, but obviously he won the third one. He was getting destroyed in the third one and came back and knocked Maynard out. What other fights you're probably going to... sadly, I have to sort of say, Brock Lesnar versus Shane Carwin.
Sadly?
Sadly, I have to throw that in there. You know?
That's not very nice. But
I'm not a very nice person.
I mean, it's what you like. You know, I think that night I even tweeted out. It's the difference between being a champion and being a challenger, and that's what Demetrius showed us that night.
Yeah, no, we definitely did see that, show that. I want to see a rematch between the two because I think it could go. I think it could go completely differently.
Well, I think you're going to get that opportunity. I mean, that flyweight division is just a revolving door of like the top 4 guys that are going to be fighting each other for the title shot. So, there's really not even that many guys out there to bring into the UFC to make the division to deepen the division. I mean, there's only maybe 2 or 3 guys that aren't in the UFC that are looked at as being top caliber guys.
Yeah, no, definitely. We'll also be talking about some flyweight action when we hit UFC 156. We'll definitely be getting into some of that. Let's talk a little bit about Ricardo Lamas versus Eric Koch. Is Eric Koch like 2013's version of Josh Grisby?
I don't think so, man. Ricardo Lamas is just really underrated.
Yeah.
I think that Lamas is. Lamas is again, and same thing with Koch. I didn't see Koch having any chance against Aldo, and I really don't see Lamas having much of a chance against Aldo. But as far as the rest of the division is concerned, Ricardo Lamas, I think, can compete with just about anybody in that division. And again, I think he's overlooked. So I think we should give Eric a little bit of a break, man. I mean, fighting a guy like Ricardo Lamas, I think it looks a lot worse. That loss looks a lot worse than what it is. And maybe within another year, Lamas fights a few more guys. I think we'll see that it wasn't quite as devastating, even though it was very devastating on how it ended.
Yeah, for sure. Let's get into some Bellator. Was it? No, do you know what? It was the week before. That was that Ben Askren came on.
Ben Askren, yeah. Amasu. So did you get an opportunity to watch that fight?
Oh, I watched all the Bellators now.
Okay. Yeah, that I was really surprised. I mean, we haven't seen Askren get a finish, I think, since like 2010. And then to finish Amasu, who's coming off 3 solid wins inside Bellator, was very surprising. Man, I thought Amasu was going to give Ben Askren a little run for his money. I didn't really see Amasu beating Ben Askren. I really didn't. Actually, I gave him like a 0 chance to beat Ben Askren. But I didn't think that Amasu would get finished. And so Askren came out and took care of business. I saw, I don't know if it was an article or a video where Askren was saying that he was ready to test his skills against GSP to find out if he's the best in the world. I don't think he's quite there yet.
No. I genuinely think GSP would struggle to take him down.
Oh, his wrestling's phenomenal, and his transitions on the ground are phenomenal. I mean, he's probably, as far as the wrestlers go, I think he's got some of the best transitions on the ground of any wrestler in the business.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. But let's bring it on, further on to Thursday. Fights there. What happened? What were your thoughts?
It was a solid card. I mean, I think I tried to say it last week when we were trying to record shows going into this card. It was a decent card to watch. It didn't have any title fights, no big names. But these guys all came in to put on a show, and I think that they did. Cupcake versus David Rickles, Lloyd Woodward. Rickles fight. I thought that was an entertaining fight, back and forth. Lloyd Woodward kind of reminds me of like a 2005 Phil Baroni. I mean, it does a little bit. I mean, I guess the dude. That's what he was standing there when he was gassed, and he was still throwing hard punches and just with his chin up. I was just like, man, that right there, that's classic Phil Baroni. So. It was a fun fight, fun card. It actually did pretty decent numbers, a lot better numbers than what I thought it would do. I think it finished at like a little over 700,000. So I was surprised with that. And I think Bellator should be happy with that. I mean, I think that was for a card that didn't have any named fighters that nobody, especially with Patricky having to pull out. I think it did pretty good.
Yeah, no, definitely. The ratings seem to be going down quite a bit. But I don't think anyone should really put too much into that because that's what happens all the time anyway.
It does, but then they actually had a spike they had the highest ratings in the 18 to 34 demographic with this card. This last card, that was their highest ratings so far. So, and that's the coveted demographic that everybody goes for. So, I mean, like I said, people need to lay off Bellator. I think they're doing fairly well. They just signed Marcus Davis, which is, I mean, the guy's, he's definitely no longer a top caliber fighter, but he can still give you an entertaining fight. So, if you put him in there with the right guy, they're still trying to do things, and the production's up. I enjoyed it. I mean, I've enjoyed all 3 cards so far, and I think that next week's card with Alexander Shlemenko and Michael Foucault and Marlon Sandra is on that card. The only thing I don't really understand is why Alexandra Bezeha and Da Silva are on your prelims. Those guys should absolutely be on the main card because that fight should be a really entertaining fight. That's the only thing I think that they cannot make mistakes on is putting fights that are going to be entertaining. They might not have title contenders in it, but if they're entertaining fights, they need to be on your main card right now, Bellator. And I don't know that Mitch Jackson, Mike Richmond is going to be more so than Alexander Bezeha, Da Silva's fight. So, but so far Bellator's doing a great job, man. And then they get the signing of Couture. You got any thoughts on what they're going to do with him?
Well, I've heard that he's going to be a coach on their reality show, but for me personally, they've sort of got to use him as the guy, as like, I don't know, how do I put this? They need to use whatever star quality Randy Couture has and just push it. Do you know what I mean? Because people know who Randy Couture is. Everyone knows who Randy Couture is. If you like MMA, you know who Randy Couture is. Even if you don't like MMA, you probably know who Randy Couture is. That gives you a chance to, how do I put this, get some more viewers, man. People are going to tune in if Randy's on.
No, I agree. I think it was a smart move. I mean, they need to do more of that. They need to go after some of the guys that the UFC don't want to have any dealings with. There aren't
many of them, though. That's the thing. There aren't many guys.
No,
who are you gonna have? Don Fry, Dan Severn,
But I think you
Ken Shamrock.
But you still should go after them. I mean, those are still names, and some of them are good television. I mean, Don Fry is always good to absolutely maybe get your show canceled.
Exactly. But you gotta ask how relevant are they? Fighters. Randy will always be relevant. I mean, he only retired in 2011.
I think another guy though to go after. I think they should be going after Quentin Jackson.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
And I don't know that you bring him in again because I don't think Quentin really wants to fight anymore. I think you bring him in as as a commentator of sorts or something on that aspect because Quentin's still funny.
I thought you were going to say bring him in as like a coach, and I was going to say, dude, I think we've all seen what happened.
Yeah, no, not as a coach, but as something just within the organization. Because again, Quentin's funny. Quentin does good interview. He's good in an interview, and he's not afraid of a camera. So, and that's what they need more of.
Fair enough. Well, let's get into UFC 156. What were your thoughts on the show?
As a whole, not the best card. I mean, there's a ton of upsets. So, I mean, sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. For me, it was really bad because it ruined my picks. The co-main event I thought was horrible. Alistair Overeem coming off steroids was bad for the business. Really, like I said, I mean, there were some big fights in it, but some exciting fights. But there was also, I mean, it was just not that great of a card. Especially, I guess what it is if it was not coming off of the UFC on Fox card that we had last week for free, this card wouldn't have been so bad. But I think that actually hurt this card because everybody's thinking back, man, that UFC on Fox card was free and it was fantastic. And the UFC on 156 card I just paid $55 for, and not so much.
It wasn't a bad card.
No, it wasn't. But I think, like I said, I just think it hurts it a little bit because it was just behind a really good card. What were your thoughts on the fights?
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the majority of them. I was a big fan of the Francisco Rivera versus Edwin Figueroa fight. That was some.
Yeah, I mean, I missed that fight. It stinks. So I'm hoping they put it on UFC TV so I can catch it.
It was very good. Dustin Kimura versus Chico Camus. That was a very good fight, because we all know my favorite thing when it comes to MMA is scrambles, and that was just scramble heavy. Great grappling from both guys. So yeah, I can't complain about that. Then, you know, I as a person, I don't usually like to gamble, but I've started a little. I've enjoyed, you know, jumped into a little bit of stuff, and I've got to say I fucked up. That last night was a night for the underdog. Put it that way. If I was feeling really ballsy, which I never am when it comes to MMA, then yeah, I would have earned some serious cash. But I went for the easier ones, and I screwed up. Yeah.
Now, another fight that I missed was the Eve Edwards Isaac Valley flag fight. How did that go?
A fight that screwed me over.
Should Eve have won that fight? I mean,
no.
Like I said, I didn't even read any of the commentary on it.
Isaac Valley flag looks really good. And so did Eve, to be fair. Eve, you know, at 36 years old, I believe he's 36 years old, he still looks really good. He can still hang in there. He's not going to be, like, going for titles or anything, but there are times where he'll lose a fight, and then there are times he'll knock a guy's block off, a la Jeremy Stevens. So, yeah, you know.
I was really surprised at that, because Valley Flag's a guy that tends to keep his hands down and just absorb blows. And so I was really surprised that he was able to beat Eve Edwards. But, that's how it goes in MMA. We get surprises from every now and again. And another big one for me was Jay Haran getting destroyed by Tyrone Woodley. I think that surprised Jay Haran the most.
I think the world had a collective, huh? moment. You know, what the fuck is this? What's going on here? Because I didn't expect Jay Heron to win. I thought he was gonna get wrestled, just really wrestled the entire time. And turns out Tyrone Woodley wanted to show my motherfuckers that, you know, he's back and he's coming for everyone, because he unloaded on Jay Heron. It was in 30 seconds. My mouth drops whilst I was eating a Millie's cookie and drinking a Red Bull. It was impressive stuff. But the thing that screwed me up, we've got to talk about, you know, we're talking about underdogs and whatnot. Bobby Green versus Jacob Volkman.
Oh, that was horrible too. I mean, I'm still going with something. I mean, you know what? I don't want to take anything. Actually, I do want to take something away from Bobby Green. I think there's something going on with Volkman going into this fight. That just didn't, even with Green getting top control and hitting Volkman. I mean, Volkman's been beat on. He's always been a very durable fighter and maintained his cardio even in situations like that. So I just have to, I mean, I kind of feel like something, you know, maybe he had a tough time cutting the lightweight this fight. I don't know. I just didn't feel like that was Jacob Volkman. Maybe I'm wrong. And I've never really been a Jacob Volkman fan, either. I mean, I've never been big on the guy, but I just really didn't feel like that was the guy that we normally see inside the cage.
Yeah, so.
I mean,
yeah,
I mean, disagree with that, or?
I don't know, man. I don't know. Bobby Green looked great. To be fair, Bobby Green looked pretty good, so I'm not gonna. I don't want. What I'm trying not to do is blame it all on, or get. I don't want to take any credit away from Bobby Green. You know what I mean? I don't want to take any credit from Bobby Green. But Jacob Volkman did not look like the Jacob Volkman who destroyed Shane Moller. So I kind of agree with you, but I don't want to be like throwing it out there as, yeah, he sucks. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think Bobby Green sucks by any stretch of the means. I think that he's a great addition to the lightweight division, but I just didn't really feel like I just felt like Volkman was going to win that fight. So I'm really surprised there. And then the Evan Dunham Gleason Tebow fight, I really thought Dunham would control that fight more too. I thought that Tebow had some chances there.
Yeah, he did have some chances. You know, Gleason Tebow's always got some form of chance, but what can you do, really? I mean, that it's just the way it is. So luckily for him, well, unluckily for him, Evan Dunham is just a little bit of a step ahead. But it could have gone either way. You never trust those judges because I still have nightmares about the Sean Shirk Evan Dunham fight. So you never know where it could have gone. But yeah, to be honest, yeah, he looked good. Sorry. Evan Dunham looked good. Gleason Tebow looked like Gleason Tebow, meaning he looked like a freaking animal.
The thing that scares me about Dunham, and it scared me going into this fight, is that he has a tendency to have that Robbie Lawler moment where he gets hit, drops his hands, and comes forward.
Mm.
And doing that against a guy like Gleason Tebow, that's just asking to get knocked out. So I'm hoping that's something that he can get past, because he did it against TJ Grant multiple times, and he did it a couple times against Gleason. So, you know, that's just not a good habit to have.
No, that's definitely true. That is not a good habit to have at all. What were your thoughts on Ian McCall versus Joseph Benavidez?
Well, that was one of the few fights that I actually got right. So, not really surprised on really how that went. Ian McCall made it a better fight than what I thought it would be. I thought Joseph would dominate the fight, because I thought his wrestling defense and his speed, I thought he was a little bit faster than Ian, and a little bit stronger. I mean, he was just a little bit better in every aspect of the game than Ian McCall. And poor Ian McCall, man. I mean, it's this flyweight division, like we said, it's just so tough for these guys because they're constantly fighting the best in their division. They're not going to get a break. I mean, there's just not enough guys in the division to give these guys a break. It was an exciting fight.
I just think that Ian McCall, every time he fights, he has some shit going on in his personal life which screws him up, you know. Obviously, you know, he got arrested, that stuff happened, and this time he's going through a divorce, and no matter what you say, you're a human being, so it's gonna affect you somehow. I just sort of wish that there was a time where he didn't have it. Well, I'm probably going to say that the last time he probably didn't have anything going on in his personal life that probably screwed him up mentally was when he should have beaten Demetrius Johnson in Australia. I think everything was going well for him then, and then ever since then it's just been sort of bad situation after bad situation. And I really want to see him when he's in when he's got a clear headspace. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I totally do, and I completely agree, man. The stuff that these guys, I mean, the fight game has so much, so many different aspects to it, and the mental part of it is huge, and it can't be overlooked, even though I think sometimes it is. And I agree, Ian McCall is a guy that has a lot of stuff going on. I mean, he tweeted earlier that he got blown up by Chuck Liddell for about 2 hours for the things that he was doing wrong. So I mean, he knows he's got to make changes. He knows that he can hang with these guys, and hopefully, like you said, hopefully he gets his personal life straightened out, and we get to see him at his best. And I think we will. I mean, like I said, the flyweight division is so shallow. Ian McCall's not going anywhere, and he'll get another shot.
Well, I don't know, man. Who are they going to put him up against next?
Who we're going to put Ian up against next? I don't know. I mean, you can...
John Dodson? I can see John Dodson beating Ian McCall.
I do, but I don't think that you put him up against John Dodson next. I don't know. If you look at... who did Moraga just beat?
Oh, God. I can't remember.
Casario. He beat Chris Casario.
Chris Casario, yeah.
So, I mean, give him Casario.
But you never know. You never know. The thing is, Ian McCall is his own worst enemy, and I think he'll agree about it as well. He's got all the talent in the world. It's just momental. We see that with fighters. We see that with American football players. We see that with every sort of sports person. Look at Chad Ochocinco. Incredibly talented. Randy Moss. Incredibly talented. It's just all in the head.
No, absolutely. So, I still think we'll see Ian McCall back. And Joseph Benavidez, so is he going to get a title shot now?
He says he doesn't want one, and I'm very impressed with that. He says he wants to grow more as a fighter, and it's not very often that you get fighters saying that. And I'm very respectful of that. You know what I mean?
Well, what are they going to do then? They're going to put Demetrius on the shelf. I mean, John Moraga, I guess, is the next guy you would give the shot to, but that's not a very exciting fight.
John Moraga is exciting. Maybe
don't get me wrong. Moraga is exciting, but I'm just saying that as far as the fan base goes, I don't think that. He's just not a name. I mean, Joseph Benavidez has a new name with Team Alpha Male and whatnot. So I guess it's not a fight. If I'm UFC brass, that I'm excited to put together yet.
I think that there's not many names. I think Ian McCall is probably the biggest name in that division, and he's just lost the fight. So they need to build it, throw him on FX. I see what they're doing. You can see the plan is to build these lighter weight fighters and put them on on Fox. With Benson Henderson, Demetrius Johnson, build them up to be these killers, and then put them on pay-per-view, because there's got to be some effect afterwards when you get 4.4 million or 4.7 million. I can't exactly remember what the specific number was. There has to be some after effect, but there aren't any real names anymore in the lighter weight divisions. You've got Jose Aldo, but how many people know who Dominic Cruz is? How many people know who Renan Barão is? How many people know who Benson Henderson is? Gone are the days of BJ Penn hitting 800,000 pay-per-view buys. They need to build from the bottom again and create new stars, and we've talked about this before. John Jones becoming a star, Cain Velasquez, when they go to Mexico, that's going to do mad numbers. Anderson Silva, a star, but how many years has Anderson Silva got left? George St. Pierre, you always know you can rely on George St. Pierre to get at least 800,000 pay-per-view buys, and you can pretty much guarantee that he's going to get probably about 900,000 to 1 million against Nick Diaz. Everything else, though, is a bit of a coin toss.
No, I agree, man. You're 100% right. They've got to build these guys up, and they've got to go after some of these other fighters, man. That are the Philippines and these lighter weight guys, the Asian fighters, and bring them over. I mean, they might not be title contenders, but these guys put on good fights and bring them in the division and do it that way as well.
Yeah, no, I completely agree there as well. I completely agree, sir. Any other fights ringing your bell?
Well, yeah. The only other fight that I really want to talk about is John Fitch, Damian Maia, and that's because that is like the only fight where had I been doing my fight predictions, I would have looked like a genius. I would look like a real ass on several of the other ones, but. Going into this fight, man, I really thought Damian Maia was going to win. I even thought that he was going to get the submission win, which has never happened with John Fitch. And it was due in large part due to John Fitch's takedown defense. The way BJ Penn was able to put him on his back, Eric Silva was able to get his back. And I thought going into this fight, Damian Maia, being the bigger fighter, was going to be able to come in and muscle Fitch and out-grapple him. And that's 100% what happened. So I was the whole time I was just waiting, though. I was like, because John Fitch is a guy that he looks like maybe he's having trouble, and then all of a sudden he just flips a switch and goes into domination mode and then completely controls the rest of the fight. And so I was constantly, worrying about that. But then after the second round ended, I was like, this is over with. Damian Maia's complete control of this fight.
No, I completely agree. Damian Maia said that he based his camp or his game plan on what BJ Penn did to John Fitch. And it was a smart idea, and two, he did a better job than BJ did.
Oh, absolutely.
So you got to be impressed there. But where do you put Dominic Cruz? Where do you put Damian Maia in the division now? Who does he face? Because he's a top contender. You just beat John Fitch, who arguably is the third best welterweight of all time.
I agree, and I mean the problem though is Fitch is 1-2 now in his last 3 fights, and so Johnny Hendricks doesn't get a title shot after knocking John Fitch out. I mean, what I think with Damian Maia, you got in a fight that I would be interested in seeing is him getting the loser of Johnny Hendricks, Jake Ellenberger. I'd like to see that fight, and I mean that division is so jammed up, especially with Nick Diaz getting a title shot against GSP. I think that's a fight that I think would be an interesting fight, putting Damian Maia in against another guy that's a wrestler that's got powerful hands, and let's see Maia get through them. And then you know what? If he does that, if he can finish a Johnny Hendricks or Jake Ellenberger, I'd say maybe one more fight and he's right there at the top.
What about Jake Shields, who's coming back soon?
Yeah, no.
Is that too?
I would love to see Damian Maia versus Jake Shields because Damian Maia would absolutely tool him up. It would not be an entertaining fight. I would give for me, Jake Shields has zero chance against Damian Maia.
No, definitely.
And the other thing I was really impressed with his cardio.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the one thing I was worried about was going into that was that he would, it would be more like what happened to BJ Penn. He would wrestle and Fitch would, by the middle of the second round, Maia might start to fade and then Fitch could gain the upper hand. But at no point did Maia fade, man. He had a fantastic weight cut and, just looked dominant through 3 rounds.
Yeah, no, definitely. But it's just, I'm just impressed with how strong he is now. I mean, the middleweight, I didn't see. Well, to be fair, we say how strong he is now. He did lateral drop Chael Sonnen, who's an absolute beast. But there are certain times where he looked just a little bit weak. But now, John Fitch is not a small welterweight. He's a big dude. So the fact that he manhandled him and kept him on the floor for long periods of time. You gotta admit, the kid is strong now. He's not the most athletic fighter, but once he gets a hold of you, there's a strong chance you're going down. If he fought someone like GSP or Roy McDonald, he'd get absolutely mangled. But he's gonna be a contender at welterweight for a long time if he continues to progress.
No, absolutely. I would 100% agree with that. So it'll be interesting to see what the UFC does with him. I mean, like I said, with the lightweight, with all the fights that they've got scheduled in the next couple months, it'll be interesting to see where they end up putting him.
Yeah, no, I completely agree there as well. What, is there anything else you want to talk about regarding UFC 156? A little bit of Jose Aldo, Frankie Edgar talk?
Yeah, I mean, I think we absolutely have to do some Jose Aldo, Frankie Edgar talk. I don't know about your timeline, but mine was, I mean, it was absolutely insane how many people thought Frankie Edgar won that fight.
Yeah.
I think I think it's in large part, and I don't know if you've noticed this, but it seems to me, and I don't do this because I try to be as objective as possible, and you know how much some fighters get under my skin and how much I would like to just constantly be against them, but I try to be as objective as possible. And but it's amazing to me how many people, even and this is including guys that do this for a living, that are MMA journalists, that they when they pick a fighter to win, if it's a close round, I mean, it's like 9 times out of 10 they give it to that other fight, they give it to the fighter they picked, and then they chastise the judges for going the other direction.
Yeah, I have done that. I've definitely done it before, but I've grown out of it. I luckily for me, I know some people do it. I had Aldo winning the fight. In general, I automatically picked him anyway, but it was a close fight. But I definitely think Aldo won.
I think it was a close fight too. But Frankie Edgar, the way he fights, it's going to be a close fight. That's his style. And these Edgar fans that just go absolutely berserk, and then Frankie himself, the way he acts after he loses his 3rd decision in a row. I mean, I'm kind of over with it, man. I'm over it, man. I just don't. I don't really feel like, you know what? If you want to win a fight, then go out and try to win the fight. Don't try to win it on points.
Yeah. No. When's the last time, how often does Frank Edgar finish fights? If he wants to finish fights, he needs to go down to 135.
That's exactly right. No, that's what I'm saying. He's got to get... Go ahead.
I don't want to be the dude to tell the former lightweight champion, arguably one of the greatest lightweight champions ever, that he needs to go down to 135 pounds. Who am I to tell him that? You know what I mean? Who is anyone to tell us that? The fact that he's gone down to 145 anyway and gave Aldo a good fight, probably the best fight of his career, who are we to say? Do you know what? You need to go down to 135 pounds.
I don't care. He can fight whatever class he wants to fight at, but the fans need to realize what he is. That's where I'm at. Is that my timeline and the other MMA and some of the other journalists need to realize what he is. He's a fantastic fighter, fantastic boxer. He's very fast. He's got great footwork. His wrestling is solid, but he's not a dominant fighter. And these guys, I mean, you know what? He knocked out Gray Maynard, but I mean, the guy doesn't dominate people. When I read these tweets and these people that are freaking out and calling robberies, I mean, you would literally think that he just beat the living hell out of Jose Aldo. Jose Aldo didn't have a single mark on him.
Yeah, he looked fine. He could probably fight again next weekend.
And it was killing me was listening to Rogan. I mean, according to Rogan, Jose Aldo was gassed halfway through the second round. I'm surprised that Jose Aldo didn't just pass out in the middle of the third round. I mean, so I don't know, man. It's another case for me where fans of a fighter just leave me with a bad taste in my mouth about that fighter, and it's a shame because I mean Frankie Edgar is a fantastic fighter, and Frankie Edgar always performs. I mean that guy. I've never watched a Frankie Edgar fight where I felt like he did a BJ Penn.
Yeah, gone are the days of finishing fighters. I mean, here's the thing, right? Benson Henderson, he doesn't finish fights, but he mauls people until so that it's done. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I mean, with that Nate Diaz fight, I mean, that was, you don't have to finish the fight, but dominate the fight, I guess, is what I want to see. I want to see you dominate a fight. But I think this is Frankie Edgar's style, man. It's moving in and out, tapping. I mean, he doesn't throw a lot of heavy punches, and that's why he's able to keep the pace he keeps. He's not throwing big bombs. He's very technical, and it allows him to keep the pace that he keeps. So, I mean, it's his style, the way he fights, and in doing so, you're going to lose some close decisions, especially when damage comes into play. If you outstrike your guy 20-7 in a round, then the fact that you landed the more strikes is going to make a difference. But when you only outstrike your guy 18-14, and that guy landed the heavier blows, he's going to get the nod 9 times out of 10.
No, completely agree. But again, does Dominic Cruz dominate guys?
Absolutely not. That's why everybody can't stand him.
I mean, I like him.
That's why a lot of people. I'm talking about fans. I think that's why a lot of fans don't like watching the guy fight because he's not a dominating fighter. Frankie Edgar is helped with the fact that he's very endearing to the American public. Dominic Cruz, for whatever reason, people just dislike him, and then you mix that in with the way he fights, and nobody likes him, which I don't understand because I like Dominic Cruz.
Fair enough. So do I. What were your thoughts on Rashad Evans? Another person who cost me money last night.
Oh, dude, it was horrible. I mean, I had Alistair Overeem screwed me over. I should have known better, though. If I'd have saw him at the weigh-ins, if I'd have made my picks or have done my counter move after watching the weigh-ins, I wouldn't have picked Alistair Overeem to win. I had not seen what he looked like physically coming off the not using steroids thing. And so... but yeah, Alistair Overeem hurt me too. But no, Rashad Evans, man, very disappointed. It was almost like he was just going through the motions and is already conceded the fact that he's going to move down to middleweight.
I don't know if I'll even fight again. He's clearly lost the file, in my opinion.
Well, that might be the case as well, man. He could be done. I mean, but it looked horrible. I mean, he didn't. I mean, I'm sorry, Nogueira's takedown defense didn't improve that much since Ryan Bader, Tito Ortiz, and Jason Brills all manhandled him to get him to the floor. Phil Davis, they were all able to get him get him to his back. I just think that it was just a really disappointing performance. I mean, especially with the co-main. I was really, really upset. Yeah, no, I agree with that completely. It's just, I don't know. You spend the year out. Maybe this is going to sound terrible, but did John Jones ruin Rashad Evans' career? Was he so confident about beating John Jones that when John Jones told him, he completely lost it, completely lost the fire to fight anymore? It's a valid question. I think it is. I mean, he was coming off a 3-fight win streak, and I think he was very confident going into that fight. And then you're right, John Jones absolutely decimated. And that happens to fighters. We talked about the mental aspect of this game. You get destroyed mentally, and then some of these guys they never recover. So, I mean, he's had 2 devastating losses, one being Lyoto Machida, and then, which to me was actually worse than the John Jones beating. And then, but losing to John Jones, I think that was the whole, big brother thing. Big brother getting beat by little brother, and that can be even worse, I guess.
Yeah, it could be worse, but who knows? I mean, this is MMA, so we never know what's going to happen.
But yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what they do. I mean, the UFC has shown us that you don't necessarily have to win fights to get title shots. So
I'm sick of that. I'm really sick of that, to be honest. That's really annoying me.
Yeah, well, so I mean, when I tweeted out last night that Rashad Evans could be somebody that's getting a title shot at middleweight, I wasn't joking. So, but we'll have to see. Rashad Evans is going to have to show that he wants to continue to fight. And maybe you're right, maybe he doesn't. So, what were your thoughts on Alistair Overeem, Antonio Silva?
I think Antonio Silva's a smarter man than people give him credit for. That was great game planning, if I do say so myself. He took the shots, brought Alistair Overeem into the later rounds, and then pummeled him. What can you say, really? I mean, it was a great game plan, and he pulled it off to a T. Alistair Overeem, if Alistair Overeem should have gone out there in the first round and put it on Antonio Silva, much like Daniel Cormier did, you know what I mean?
Right.
But clearly he didn't, and clearly he wasn't in the best shape he could have been.
No, I also think the dude was 30%, at least 30% smaller than when he fought Brock Lesnar. If you go back and look at the pictures, because I did when he was in the cage, I was like, man, I'm pulling up pictures. I pull up pictures of him in that fight, and then I pull up pictures of him in the Brock Lesnar fight. Dude, his arms are twice the size. I mean, they're just filled out more. So I think that had something to do with it, man. He just wasn't. He's not quite as powerful. I mean, he's a 205er that ballooned up to fight at heavyweight.
Yeah, but he looked unhealthy at 205 for me. His head was huge compared to his body. He looked like a bubble. It looked like a bobblehead.
I don't know. It does stink for the heavyweight division because now it's kind of a mess. I know that Dana said that Antonio Silva, after that win, he could give him a shot against Kane, and no.
I don't need to see that again. I really don't need to see that.
No, not at all. I mean, and then you've got, Mark Hunt is been off for a year. If he was to beat Stefan Struve or Stefan Struve beats Mark Hunt, Stefan Struve, I'm not excited to see him fight Kane. I'm not excited to see a Mark Hunt that's been off for a year fight Kane. I don't know where you go with this. I mean, who are we going to see? I mean, I don't really, that's what kills me with the heavyweight division is the champion seems to only fight like twice a year. And I don't want to see that.
Mate, you're asking the wrong person. I would not want Joe Silva's job when it comes to, the heavyweight division and who faces who. Because Antonio Silva...
Fabricio Verdum? I mean, is that somebody you could
Fabricio,
see?
Fabricio Verdum is... If he beats Antonio Rogério Nogueira, Rodrigo Nogueira, excuse me, then he is the biggest viable option for them afterwards. I think this is what you do, right? You pray, you really, really pray that Fabricio Verdum beats Big Nog.
Handily,
which I believe he will. Then you put Junior Dos Santos versus Alistair Overeem, and the winner of Antonio Silva versus Stefan Struve and Mark Hunt. That's what I would do. But it all really depends on if Fabricio Verdum beats Antonio Rogério Nogueira, because if he doesn't beat Big Nog, then you're screwed, because no one wants to see Big Nog versus Cain Velasquez, because we all know what happened last time.
Yeah, absolutely not. It just really kills the division that Daniel Cormier is in the same is on the same team with Cain Velasquez.
Yeah, and they treat it's different. There's if they're on the same team as each other, then there's always also as a possibility that they could fight. We've all seen it, but I think it's harder for them to fight because not only are they teammates, Daniel Cormier is his coach,
Right.
wrestling coach. So you're not only affecting a relationship between teammates, you're affecting the person's like actual training camp. Because you probably want Daniel Cormier giving you instructions about your wrestling for 25 minutes instead of him punch you in the face and then trying to take you down.
Right. No, and you know what? I am excited to see Daniel make his eventual move to the light heavyweight division. But I still would like to have seen Daniel Cormier versus Cain Velasquez. I can't help it. I mean, I would really love to see those two fight.
I mean, you know, styles-wise, it would be a great fight. They've both got very good cardio, clearly. I mean, neither of them look like, you know, neither of them have six-packs, put it that way. You know what I mean? But if I tried to out-jog any of them, I would die within 3 minutes, and they would probably keep going and going and going and going. So yeah, it would be a great back-and-forth fight stylistically. But would it be a great fight? Because there'd probably be a lot of hesitation on both ends.
No, that's right too. You could have that. That's where, like I said, I wish it was a little bit different world and we had these guys in different camps. But they probably wouldn't be the fighters that they are today if they're in different camps. I think that Daniel Cormier's striking is I think it's going past what Cain Velasquez does, but they look very similar. So I mean, if they were in different camps, maybe they wouldn't be the fighters they are today as well. Moving on a little bit, what do you think about the Pettis saying, you know, that he's willing to move down to 145 to take on Jose Aldo?
Man, I'm cool with seeing that fight. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna say, oh yeah, that's a great fight. I'm not gonna jump all over it because I don't know if it's gonna happen. But if it does happen, then I'll just be like, if they give me a specific date, and I won't get excited until fight week. Put it that way. All it's saying to me is, Anthony Pettis says he'll drop down to 145 pounds to fight Jose Aldo. Okay, doesn't mean anything's gonna happen because Anthony Pettis was supposed to get a title fight in 2011 for 2013. That dude still hasn't had a title fight yet. So I don't want to be like, oh yeah, this guy is amazing, yada yada yada. This is going to be a great fight or whatnot, because it could be, but I still think there's a 40% chance of it happening. I don't know how far, I don't know if it's going to happen. I don't want to be like getting.
There's also the aspect of Pettis making the cut down to. I mean, Pettis is not a fat 155. I mean, he drops another 10 pounds. How's that going to affect him physically? I mean, we know what it does to Jose Aldo. It absolutely depletes him. I don't know. I'm with you. I'm not really sure about that fight. I think that I would rather see Pettis just wait until, April. I think Melendez is fighting Henderson.
Yeah.
I think I'd rather see him wait and just, because if he waits, he's going to get the shot at the winner of that fight, which will be Ben Henderson.
What would you rather see? Would you rather see Ben Henderson versus Anthony Pettis 2 or Jose Aldo versus...
I would absolutely rather see Anthony Pettis versus Ben Henderson too. And it's mainly because I know what I'm going to get. With Anthony Pettis dropping down a weight class, even though it's 10 pounds, and people don't realize, 10 pounds doesn't make a huge difference when you have to drop that extra 10. And I don't know what Pettis walks around at, but like I said, he's not a really heavy guy. He's not carrying a lot of extra weight. So making that cut, I just can't imagine is going to be something fun for him. And I understand the aspect, you get a title shot offered to you, and I'm sure Joe Silva and Dana White would be more than happy to make that fight happen. You take it because you never know. You never know what'll happen, and we've seen it countless times where guys are set to be the next guy to get that title shot, and something happens, and the UFC goes in a different direction. Just because somebody makes some stupid comments, it gets all the fans excited, and then they get the title shot instead of you. And I think Anthony Pettis can sell a fight. So I think that Jose Aldo fight, I think when the fight gets here, I think it would do decent numbers. But myself personally, I'd rather see Pettis at Henderson because I know what I'm going to get. I know the Anthony Pettis, I'm going to see at lightweight. I know the Ben Henderson that we see at lightweight. And I know the type of fight we're going to get out of that. So I would rather see that fight.
All right, cool. Is there anything else you want to talk about MMA wise? There isn't a fight next week, so.
No, I think, but we ought to hit the Ultimate Fighter, man. We, with not doing a show, we didn't get to talk about that at all, and the fact that they clearly listened to Across the Pond MMA and decided to get off that reality fence that they've been sitting on for so long, where they are part Jersey Shore and part sports reality show.
I don't even think it's that. I think they've just got decent fighters. Very good. Well, I wouldn't say very good, but they've got good fighters.
They do, but I think that part of that is because instead of going for guys that are going to be good TV and good fighters,
yeah,
I think that that's a huge difference. Because, like I said, I know guys that have tried out for the Ultimate Fighter that I don't understand how they didn't make it, other than the fact that they're not funny, they're not drunks, they're not crazy.
Yeah.
And so I think that they did. I mean, and the way they're shooting it, I mean, I don't know who the producer of the show is currently, but they are doing a fantastic job making the switch to the more, what is it, the Ultimate Insider? It's not the Insider series that they do the same type of shooting. What is it?
I believe you're thinking of Primetime.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, Primetime. I think that was fantastic. I think bringing the families in, I mean, I really enjoyed that. And so far, I've really enjoyed the show. I mean, and you know what? And Chael Sonnen has not gotten on my nerves. That's the other big positive. I really thought Chael Sonnen would drive me up a wall with all of his canned sayings and stuff, and he hasn't.
I love Chael Sonnen. Like, I was completely indifferent to him before this fight, before anything, and I love the man. The man is amazing. I think he's a great coach because you can clearly tell that he puts on a persona to push a fight, and I'm perfectly fine with that. But when it comes down to being serious and being a coach, he's not. And he said it in an interview and funny enough, Fighters Only magazine, that when it's time to promote the fight, he'll promote the fight. But when he's there to coach fighters to become better people, you can clearly tell that he's in it. Do you know what I mean? Like that's him. He's just being a normal person. And I think John Jones saying that he actually likes Chael. He wasn't sure about him before, but after the thing, he likes Chael. I can see why. He comes across as a dude that I'd want to have a beer with.
Absolutely, I agree. And you know what? I think that this show is going to be really, really good for John Jones as well. We all know that I've not always been a big fan of John Jones, but seeing John interact with the fighters and not being interviewed by a journalist, I think we're seeing a little bit of a different side of John Jones. I mean, maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just because I've been blinded to the fact that he just gets under my skin at times. But I really feel like I am seeing a different side of John Jones, and I'm enjoying it. And that's, you know, I think that this was a good move by the UFC. I mean, I really was against it. I still am against the idea of Chael Sonnen getting a title shot against John Jones. But having these two on the Ultimate Fighter, I think was a great move. Shooting the fights the way they're shooting them, fantastic move. And getting quality fighters for a change. Not necessarily getting guys that are going to give you TV ratings because they're trying to break down fake doors. But getting guys that are in there to fight, and you've got coaches that are in there to coach. I mean, I think that it's just excellent job by whoever, if it's the Fox execs that made the changes, whoever made the choice to make the changes, they did a hell of a job with it. And I think that this is really the first Ultimate Fighter that I've really enjoyed in a long, long time.
No, yeah, I agree, man. I agree. Who are you impressed by the most? Because there's obviously a bunch of fighters who are very impressive.
Right now, my two fighters are Thor and Uriah Hall.
Uriah
Hall. What's that?
Basically, obviously, we all know that I'm Jamaican, but there's like a contingent of people on Twitter who are Jamaicans who love MMA, and everyone's sort of just really excited for Uriah Hall, and it's very interesting. Like I've never really sort of been nationalistic about English fighters because there are so many and there's an abundance of us. But when it comes to like Jamaican fighters, it's always something that I find quite interesting. I'm very I am nationalistic about that, you know, because there aren't many.
And you're lucky. Uriah Hall is a really solid fighter.
He is. It's going to be interesting to see this crazy knockout because it could be a complete U-turn and it could be Adam Keller
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it could be Uriah Hall. But I don't think it is, because the way Dana had talked in interviews was that the person I think that hits, I mean, I guess it could be. I just don't see him going on a rampage throughout the rest of the show. And the way I understand it is that person that has this vicious knockout does it several other times.
Yeah, it's true. And you know, for a guy to only be beaten by Chris Weidman and Costa Filippo, and let's bear in mind, I've heard from people, I've not seen the fight, but he did well against Chris Weidman. So who knows? This kid could be something special.
So I guess we can say that Uriah Hall is the guy that you're picking to win the whole thing.
I'm not picking anyone to win the whole thing. What I am gonna say though is that I don't know much about Tor yet. Tor.
It's hard to not say Tor, but yes.
Don't what's the word? Don't count out Luke Barnett yet. You know.
I agree, but Luke, he's sloppy at times.
He's a sloppy striker, but I tell you one thing you guys haven't seen yet.
Okay.
His grappling is standing.
Okay, well then that could be the deal breaker there.
If it goes, his striking isn't that great. It can be. Look, he's the same age as me. You know, he's a very young kid. And
I'm not taking anything away from him. I like him. He's in my counter move pool. I've got him in my counter move pool. So I like Luke Barnett.
I'm not saying that that you don't like him. I'm saying that his big skill set hasn't been shown yet.
Okay.
Because you know who he trains with, right?
No, I don't.
He's from the same gym as John Maguire, so
okay.
The kid's he's always been a really good grappler. I've seen him fight. God, how many times have I seen Luke fight now? Twice. I've seen him have probably his toughest fight, where he manhandled the kid on the floor, and this kid called Ben Callum is supposed to be something special, and he got manhandled by Luke on the ground. And then I saw him fight again in Bama, and he outboxed the dude, knocked him to the ground and won. So the great thing about him, for me personally, is that he knows how to use his size very well.
No, he does, and that's so rare in MMA right now. I mean, I don't know why these guys have trouble with it. So many guys that have range don't understand how to use it. Mm-hmm. So. But yeah, overall though, Ultimate Fighter, man, cannot wait to watch this week's episode.
How crazy is that? When was the last time you said, I can't wait to...
Exactly. I know. It's crazy. And normally, and on top of that, I mean, I've watched most of the Ultimate Fighters. Last season was probably the first season where I didn't even watch. I stopped watching after 2-3 episodes. But, but I always fast forward. I don't listen to anything. I don't listen to the guys talking to each other. I always fast forward to the fight, just watch the fight, and then move on. But I'm watching the entire episode right now, so I'm hoping that it stays that way, and I hope that John and Chael continue to do a great job coaching, and they don't get into doing stupid pranks or anything silly like that. Because for me, I like the sports documentary style. I think that's the way they should have gone. I think that was a good move. I think it's going to do really well for this show going forward.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I agree. I mean, you know what I'm like when it comes to TV shows, especially things that are sort of like documentary style now, especially the way the Ultimate Fighter is. So I'm usually quite skeptical, but I'm enjoying it so far. Fingers crossed it stays as good as it has been. We'll see. I'm excited about the Ultimate Fighter, and that's good enough for me. And hopefully there aren't any "let me bang, bro" moments. Apparently that dude got knocked out last night. Well, yeah, I think apparently Julian Lane got knocked out. So let me Google that. I will find out for you. Julian.
Yes, because everybody is just on the edge of their seat wanting to know.
I am going to follow Julian Lane's career for the rest of my life, for the rest of the time that I'm covering MMA. I'm going to be always looking.
You need to get yourself a Fighters Only interview there.
I don't need to do that. I think that's one thing I don't need to do, because
It could be the interview, man, that just puts you up. You know, you might be at the World MMA Awards.
Ugh, please. I don't like flying. I'm good. You know what I mean? Julian Lane, did you win your fight last night? I want to know. Oh, Jarrett, no, he didn't. He got beaten. He got TKO'd, apparently.
That's so surprising. I mean, that just goes to, right there, the quality that the UFC was bringing in. It's totally different set of fighters that they've got on their show right now.
Well, you know, this is what happens when you want to bang, bro.
Evidently, yes, you get TKO'd if you want to bang.
Bro, do not forget the bro. The bro is an important thing in the sentence. Let me bang, bro. Okay?
That's so horrible. I could do without ever hearing that again. So, well, I think that pretty much sums up the MMA portion. Anything else you want to touch on?
No. I'm pretty bored of MMA right now.
So we'll move on to the entertainment part of the show. I actually watched a couple movies this week that I've been wanting to watch for quite some time. One was End of Watch. The other was Seven Psychopaths. Have you had the opportunity to watch either of those?
I have not had the opportunity to watch either of those, although I have both of them waiting for me to watch.
Seven Psychopaths. One of the guys we've had on the show in the past, Nick Robertson, he tweeted out a while back that he'd watched it and thought it was a little slow. I enjoyed it. It was a little slow, but the dialogue was witty enough that I didn't mind the slow parts of the movie.
Okay.
Christopher Walken. I mean, Christopher Walken was Christopher Walken. At times, he doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And I don't know if his characters get written that way, or if it's just that they're like, you know, you're Christopher Walken, so if you want to ad-lib here and say whatever the hell you want to say, just go ahead and do that.
I wouldn't tell Christopher Walken what to do. Do whatever you want, Christopher. You've earned that.
Yeah, but I mean, Sam Rockwell was fantastic. Colin Farrell was fantastic. And I tell you what, Colin Farrell, I really enjoy him in supporting roles. When he's not, having to try to carry a movie, Colin Farrell is fantastic.
Yeah.
And I thought he was really good in this movie. It was a fun show. Woody Harrelson was good. I mean, I really enjoyed it. I would definitely recommend it to people that like, because it had an indie feel to it. So if you like quirky films, it's something I would say that would definitely be worth checking out. I don't know if it's for everybody because it doesn't have a super fast pace to it, and it really wasn't the type of movie I was thinking it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a lot more violent than what it was, and it really is not a violent movie. There's violent parts, but it's not it's not super violent movie. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was great. End of Watch. Wow. That movie, I mean, it's not shot the same. It's not, the storylines are totally different, but the movie Collars, and I don't know if you've watched that you were like 2 years old probably when that came out.
Do you know what? Sorry, just to to interrupt you really quickly. Have you ever seen Sleepers?
Yes, Sleepers is a great movie.
Apparently I need to see that film because I've been hearing about it constantly. Yeah,
no, Sleepers is a good movie. I think that one is one of the few movies I've only watched one time, but it's great, man. Kevin Bacon's in it, and Kevin Bacon, for pretty much from the 80s to early 90s, dude, you can't miss really if it's a Kevin Bacon film. The guy does a fantastic job, and he's got a great series that just started on Fox, which we'll get to here in a minute.
Okay.
But End of Watch, man, I was really. I didn't know what to expect with this. I didn't know. I mean, it was shot with the
handheld
camcorder, and then mixed in with just standard filming. I mean, it was a tough film to watch, and it wasn't because it was bad. It was just, man, you knew it was not going to end good. You knew that there was going to be some really tough moments, and there was some horrific scenes in this movie.
Really?
Multiple ones. So yeah, it's a tough movie to watch. It's a great movie, but tough to watch, and the ending was brutal. So
should I be sober whilst watching this?
Yeah, absolutely. You should be sober watching this movie. I mean, it's like I said, it's a tough movie to watch. Seven Psychopaths, though, you should absolutely be blown out of your mind when you watch it. It is definitely a movie that I think would just enhance the film. But End of Watch, both movies I would absolutely recommend, and I was very very happy to see that they both turned out as good as I thought that they would. So, have you watched anything lately?
I watched anything lately. I am rewatching Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood.
Good Lord.
Only because I actually have the film that comes after it, but because I completely forgot what happened in on the show. I've just began rewatching it now. But I have got a crazy selection of movies that I need to watch, a lot of documentaries that I need to get through. So next week I'll have watched a bunch of films and we can talk about that.
Okay.
I think next week is basically, unless there's a crazy amount of MMA news that happens this week, I think will basically be an entertainment podcast.
Yeah, no, I think so. And we've got the Walking Dead returning. So.
Oh my god, I'm so happy.
For sure. So we've got that coming around. And then have you got to watch? Did you get to watch the following premiere, the new Kevin Bacon TV series?
I have not watched the following. Sorry, I have not watched it. So
I think you should check that out. I mean, I think that's something I think you'd like it. It's definitely so far so good, and it's rare anymore that a series immediately grabs me. It makes me want to watch the next episode. It usually takes me a couple episodes to get going. But this one, and again, it's probably part. I mean, I'm a little bit. I'm like Kevin Bacon. He's up there on my list of actors that I enjoy watching. So that might have something to do with it. But I've really enjoyed it. And everybody I've talked to has been a big fan of it. So you might check it out.
I need to check out Person of Interest.
You know what? My mom is a big fan of that movie or that TV series. Now I have only watched a couple episodes, and what I watched was it looked entertaining. Looked like it'd be worth watching. There's just so many good TV shows out there right now that I just don't have time to watch them all, and I still have to get caught up on Breaking Bad.
Yeah, you really need to. Do you know what? I was thinking of rewatching Lost.
I don't know if I could rewatch Lost.
I think I could. I'm probably waiting until I'm in a relationship with someone to watch it and hope that they haven't seen it, but I've got it now, so it's like,
Yeah, I guess that I could do that if I'm watching it with somebody that's never watched it before. But, yeah, I don't know that I could. That's a series. And I own that. I think I own most of the seasons. But, not a series I think I could go back and watch again. But, is that why you're wanting to watch Persons of Interest?
Yeah, because I'm a big fan of Ben Linus. I think he was the best character on that show.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think that's kind of pretty much why I want to watch it. I want to check it out, man. I want to see what the hype's about.
No, for sure. Well, it looks like we're going to have a big show dealing with entertainment next week. And you never know, though. The MMA world surprises us with crazy moments from every now and again. So, and we'll have Bellator to talk about. But I think that wraps the show up.
Your enthusiasm was fantastic when you said that. And we'll have Bellator to talk about.
No, I'm just not Alexander Shlemenko, buddy. I mean, I know that Bellator's trying to push you as the greatest Russian fighter in MMA.
Have they not seen Mamed Khalidov?
I don't think. Dude, I don't even want to get into it. But anyways, I think we had a pretty good show. And are you ready to wrap it up?
Yeah, let's wrap this bitch up. I'm done.
All right, so as always, we want to thank Fight Fans Radio. Erica Lewis, she's out. Well, she should be on her way back from Vegas right now. Got to sit out there and participate in UFC 156. And always thank you for everybody that listens and downloads the show. And another great show. And really enjoyed doing the show with you, Andre.
Yeah, I don't care about anyone, so whatever Matt said. No, seriously, shout out to Erica. I miss you, babes. I really do miss you. Shout out to Matt. And, yeah, do you know what? I did see Diz come up on my Twitter timeline yesterday, so I will gladly say fuck Diz. Whenever he comes up on my timeline, fuck you. Ugh, right. I guess it's time that we play that funky music that isn't really funky. So, au revoir, see you next week. Peace, we're out of here.
We try.